I guess one thing I'd want them to know about Islam is
It's a very deep question.
Yeah.
Well, there are many things, but I think one of the main things like I want people to know is like, at least in our day and age, there's like this idea that religion's really like prescriptive and like, I guess, oppressive, especially Islam. And I just want people to know that that's not the case for Muslims at all, and it shouldn't be the case for anyone. I feel like, what's that really like? What that guy Russo? It's like where we go everywhere in shackles, right? It's we think that we're free and making our own decisions will make us happy and just the best way to live. But at the end of the day, you're a slave to something. So Islam teaches you that be a slave, be like an obedient person to the one who created you, which is ultimately the most important thing, and have a relationship with him. So I think that's what I want people to know. It's not really a prescriptive, like oppressive thing. It's a liberating task to connect with the one who loves you the most.
So for example, in a lot of things, normally we question, why is it true? Like, why is this forbidden? Or why is this not allowed? But actually, when you look into it and when you really think about and read what the Quran has to say about it, or even the basic logic behind it, oftentimes a lot of the things that are forbidden are, firstly, we don't do them because we're obeying Allah, but also because a lot of those things are harmful in and itself of themselves. So I think that's my favorite thing about Islam, that it kind of protects you preemptively with a lot of harmful things, and that's what I really like, and that's what I want people to know, that it's not oppressive, or we're not being forced to do things. Those things are there to protect us, and there's a lot of logic behind them.
I think it's easy to think of religion as a set of rules that you need to follow to gain God's mercy, but Islam is so much more encompassing than that. We learn about the etiquettes of dealing with others, the etiquettes of filling up your own stomach, the etiquettes of even going to the bathroom. And we see like this huge emphasis on cleanliness and hygiene. And who would think that a religion would talk about these things? But that's Islam. It's a complete way of life.
One thing I'd like people to know is that Islam is a complete package. Islam is a way of life for an individual, for their family around them, for the friends around them, for their community.
It's not just something restricted to what you do 5 times a day, or a place that you go once a week. It's inbuilt into every movement, every action.
But it's not merely limited to us saying that we believe and that's it, but our iman has to be manifested into action. And there's guidance for every single aspect in life, and it's timeless guidance.
It's got etiquettes for like almost everything that you do in your life, whether that be going to sleep or eating food, or even every like day-to-day things.
It's something that carries out through how we conduct ourselves, how we speak to others, how we treat others, to how we eat our food, how we go to sleep. I feel like it's very holistic, and it's really a way of life. It's not just a spiritual kind of religion, as some other religions are. It's a perfect way of life that applies to every single aspect of our lives.
an important one which often goes missed is that Islam is an experience. And it's a comprehensive experience. It's not just a theology that you build conviction into over time, although it is that, but it's also an experience which helps you build that conviction. And then the more you resonate with Islam, the more you apply Islam in your life, the more that experience is enriched. So I'd say it's like a enriching experience that spills over into all aspects of your life, and it kind of expands and enriches your life as you experience it more and more.
It's a comprehensive system that in a sense that Islam has a solution to all world problems. Like it has a solution to every single thing that you might go through in life, because it's the religion of Allah. It's, in the Dina and Allah Islam, the religion of Allah is Islam. So it's superior, and it's the way of life, really. So that's what I would want people to know.
Islam is a social, communal way of life. Islam doesn't just have a place only in your home and your mosque, but Islam also has a place in politics, in the economy, in community, family affairs, in legal affairs. Islam has a place in every facet of society. Islam is a comprehensive way of life
that encompasses economic, political, social interactions, and the way that you go about your daily life and the way that you actually view things, so your mindset. And I think that's a very powerful thing. And one thing that I really think is important for people to know is that this type of mindset, this type of way of life, this complete package is something that can merge with any existing culture.
Islam isn't a monolith, and that it looks different everywhere. I really like that. And I want them to know that, just because Islam looks a certain way in the West, it looks different everywhere, and it's kind of cemented as something native in a lot of countries that we wouldn't consider like Islamic, or areas we consider Islamic, like Central Asia, and just like we're in Western China, and if you compare that to say Africa, Islam looks like it's got particular features such as mosques, but it still looks, but it's different because it's cemented as something native.
Example that I like using is that of Chinese culture, and how the Muslims in China, they really are very similar to the non-Muslims, with the exception that they don't eat pork, they don't drink alcohol, they pray 5 times a day, and some of them try to grow a beard to the best of their ability. And that really is the difference between non-Muslim and Muslim Chinese. So you see that all around the world. Any Muslim in any country has adapted well by integrating Islam into their own culture, their own way of life.
I think one of the biggest things that I really like people to know about Islam is just that it's like a religion based on intellect, right? The entire premise of it, obviously it's very spiritual, it's still a religion, but it's very much so based on logic and intellect. And I think people don't really associate that with religion these days. One of the beautiful things that I think I found when I did my first proper reading of the Quran, the translation of it, was that so many times it kind of asks the reader to reflect on signs in life generally, in nature, but also kind of to reflect on the Quran itself, to almost critically analyze the Quran as a text. And I think that's really beautiful. I think a big part of being a Muslim is logically understanding why you're a Muslim. It's about really finding your place in the world. And obviously there's a beautiful spiritual aspect to that, but I really do enjoy the fact that there's also that intellectual aspect. And I think that kind of is what allows Islam to really transcend time, race, time, race, nationality. It allows it to become a religion for everyone because it's based on that logic and intellect that really makes humans human.
If there's one thing I wanted people to know about Islam, I'd say it'd have to be that science does not make Islam redundant. It might be, this is something that people might think with current, science beliefs, but I think people have to understand that Islam is not only just a spiritual experience and a way of life, but also an intellectual experience. So, if you look further into its sciences, hadith, fiqh, aqidah, you'll find that it's a very intellectual experience as well, and it will answer a lot of good questions.
So I think it was Benedict Ashley in a book I've just finished reading, and he said, and it was very interesting. He said that that the term university means many looking towards one. And that's pretty interesting if you think about it, because that would suggest that Islam, which is the pursuit of truth, is not entirely foreign in what may seem like a very militant post-modern culture at universities, in which we all study at, right? So I think that's pretty interesting. We're all at universities. As Muslims, we're purveyors of the truth, and we're a community that seeks the truth. So I don't think Islam is a foreign concept that one should hide from when studying at university. I think it's something to be celebrated, and it has more than a role to play. It is the truth.
Islam is not foreign. It's not foreign to human nature because it's a return to, a primordial state of human existence. It's not foreign to this country because we've had Afghan cameleers and Indonesian fisheries that predated white settlement. And it's not foreign to the Judeo-Christian history because you can see Islam as the final testament, a reaffirmation, not a repudiation of those scriptures.
One thing I would want people to know about Islam is that that Allah does not mean for it to be difficult and hard. Even in the Quran, Allah says Allah wants ease for you. He doesn't want things to be difficult for you. And I think we like in the media or in today's society, we perceive Islam as something that has so many rules. It's very restrictive. You can't do this, you can't do that. That the normal general society tends to think is a normal part of our lives. So we find it so restrictive, but that's actually not the case because there's so many areas of leniency that Allah has made for us. Yes, there are certain rules. Yes, there are certain obligations, but like He has made everything easy for us. You're traveling, combine your prayers. You miss a fast, make it up later. You made a mistake, whether it's a big sin, small sin, you can ask for forgiveness. Allah will forgive you. He's the most merciful. So I think we tend to forget that Islam is not meant to be a difficult part of your life. It's just enjoy your life, have fun, obey the rules, fulfill your obligations, and just relax, enjoy.
People should know about Islam is that it literally gives you peace. Very cliche answer, but it literally gives that peace through surrendering and submitting to Allah. If you start believing in Islam, if you start subscribing to a religion like Islam, the following happens, right?
Yeah.
Allah says the risk of a human being, which is your provisions in this world, is already it's destined, right? It's all written for you. If you're going to lose this job, Allah is going to give you something else. The money is going to come, right? Allah is testing you on what you do, how you behave, how you go about living your life, right? Because risk is defined. That's why I have this concept of qadar.
It gives you Islam just gives you a strength which no one can tread upon. It's inviolable. It gives you a sovereignty over yourself that nothing else can give you. And because the mindset you have, if you practice Islam, you have your taqwa and your tawakkul in Islam, if you really, really practice that, it's a form of a state of mind which no one can harm you. The mindset of a Muslim is win-win. There's no way you can lose. No possible way you can lose. You get sick, Allah forgives your sins. You get pricked even by a thorn, Allah takes away some sins. You make dua, Allah either accepts it. He accepts it for sure. Either you actually get your dua accepted, Allah gives you something better, or Allah prevents you a harm that would have come your way.
Alright, so Bismillah. I think the one thing that I want people to know about Islam is how merciful it is. Say you do one mistake, a very, very grave mistake, that's just an opportunity for you to get closer to Allah. It's not something that will guarantee you, to go to hellfire, to be sinned forever. Allah is very merciful in that He gives you more chances to be better and to try your best and to fix your mistakes. And I think that's what I'd like non-Muslims to know about Islam, that Islam is quite merciful in that way.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is the idea of hijab, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So there's always this preconceived notion that it's only for females, and all females who use it are oppressed, but there's a lot more to hijab is there's a lot more to it than that. It's for everyone. It's not just for a particular gender, and it's not just the article of clothing that I wear on my head. It's the brothers also have to have this concept of hijab where it's also about the way that you speak. It's about how you conduct yourself. It's about how you interact with people. And as for the whole if you wear hijab you're oppressed, it's a representation of me as a person, and I shouldn't have to explain to people how I'm not oppressed. And in a sense, in a way, it's actually freeing, because I don't have that concern that's I don't have to worry about how I'm being perceived by people, and I don't have to worry about if I'm behaving in a way which would be perceived negatively, because these things are already sort of set out for us, like with the concept of hijab, where it's like avert your eyes, act humbly and stuff like that. So in a sense, like, I don't have to put my consent to those sorts of things. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I want people to know that Islam is the religion of peace, to put it simply. It's said a lot, but I don't think it's stressed enough, especially within people in our community. I think the Western media's portrayal of our religion is a little bit misled and full of bias. So I think I'd like for everyone, and I encourage everyone, to turn to reputable sources to, I guess, find out information for themselves.
Yeah. I think one thing a lot of people misunderstand is probably the true meaning of jihad. I feel like sometimes it's misconstrued in the media, but Prophet Muhammad said the most important part of jihad is jihad al-akbar, which is the greater jihad, the jihad against yourself, the struggle against yourself. So it's a constant struggle for self-improvement. One of the leading philosophers in Islam, Imam al-Ghazali, he actually said, declare jihad against the 13 enemies that you cannot see. So those are things inside you, such as vices like malice, greed, hatred. You cannot proceed to the smaller jihad if you don't go on that journey of self-improvement and continual improvement, and gradually elevate in the stages of yourself. So I think that once you understand the true meaning of jihad, jihad al-akbar, the greater jihad, the jihad against yourself, then you understand that some of the constructions of it is probably a little bit misconstrued and misunderstood in the media.
One thing I would want people to know about Islam is that start with the basics. And the basics and the fundamentals is about Allah, is about the oneness of Allah, and the essence of what that oneness entails. And everything else will follow. I think our purpose in this world is to worship Allah, and everything else is almost secondary, really, right? All these extra acts that we do, not that they go to waste, but they are somewhat wasteful if we are not tying it back to who we're doing it for and the reason we're doing it for, and why, really. The why is it's because Allah is worthy of worship. But yeah, so therefore, in conclusion, I would say the thing that I would want people to know about Islam is start with the fundamentals by getting to know who Allah is, and everything else will fall into place after that.